My soul tribe. I'm here for a reading with you, or a video reading. Yeah, we're going to do a reading. So I did a soul tribe reading yesterday, and it was about archetypes. And I mentioned that I've been studying the child archetypes. So it started by reading that book about the sacred shadows and wounding. But the child archetypes allow you to dig a little deeper into that. And I mentioned that I'm writing a book. So what happened to me last night is I stayed up until 4 a.m. writing about this. And I'm having a difficult time articulating myself right now. I'm lit up like a Christmas tree right now, and I wanted to come talk to you guys about it because my mission started with tarot, right? I discovered tarot when I was on my healing journey. And so I started to read tarot, and it's slowly kind of grown into a combination of tarot, healing, and how relationships can reflect back to us what we need to heal, I'm having a hard time articulating myself. It's lack of sleep, but hang on. I just needed a minute. Because I have all these things like, I'm lit up, right? My soul spark is lit on fire right now. So I'm having a hard time organizing everything that's happening in my body and my brain. So, but I've also been shifting more towards healing. And that doesn't mean that I'm stopping tarot. I'm not. But I am exploring more healing right now. Again, I'm not stopping tarot. So, researching these archetypes, what I'm finding, it's like building a map to the specific wound, that specific archetype, where those archetypes are developed in our childhood through the relationships we have with our parents, through our experiences, and then they affect us for the rest of our lives if we don't heal them. And it's never too late to heal. I just want to say that, I'm 41 going on 42, and it's never too late to heal. And it's completely worth it. So what I'm trying to do, it's almost like the way that I can describe the healing journey, it's like a labyrinth, right? Trying to get to the core of what you need to heal, how to heal it, integrating that healing. And I think that's what, for myself, I've been missing on my own healing journey. I have a lot of awareness of what wounds I have, like avoidant wounds, abandonment wounds, codependency, fear of rejection, unable to set boundaries, like all of those wounds that we talk about. And I wanted to find a way to actually heal them. And so this book that I'm writing, and again, it's completely, I don't know how to explain it. I tried to explain it to my partner today, and I looked like I was a crazy person, right? Like I almost feel like a little bit like the Mad Hatter or something. But what I've been trying to do with this book is explore all these things. So what ages they happen, how they happen, how it affects us, and then the archetypes. This archetype thing, again, I'm still working on how to articulate it. When I'm writing, I can articulate it fine, but speaking, apparently I'm having a problem. I'm struggling. Blocked throat chakra. So again, I'm aware of my wounds, working towards healing them, working towards healing the inner child. But I had a breakthrough today. I had a breakthrough, and I couldn't wait to tell you guys about it. And I want to try something with you today based on what I'm writing to see if it works for you. Because, again, it was almost like, it's almost like a labyrinth, right? Trying to figure out how to heal it and what to heal and where does it come from and how do you fully heal it. So what I experienced today is what they call a completion of an interrupted stress response. So what I'm noticing is by learning about these archetypes, again, not all those archetypes that were in that deck yesterday, just the child ones. And there's not too many, so it's not too overwhelming. By knowing what these archetypes are, where they come from, how we will behave if it's in shadow, how we behave if it's in light, how it shows up in relationships. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh! By understanding these archetypes, it helps us understand ourselves. It helps us know where to go to heal them. And again, this morning I had a breakthrough moment. And I had a physical reaction to it. It was that Phoenix energy, but it was more than that. My heart rate actually elevated to a crazy high. There's nothing wrong with me. My heart rate elevated to a crazy high number while I was going through it. And the way that I did it was I did it in a moment where I was triggered. And I just want to explain this. Like, this is what I'm writing about. So by understanding these archetypes, I'm starting to understand when I'm triggered, what is being triggered and how to stop the trigger. No, not how to stop it, how to heal it in the moment. And again, I know this sounds like it doesn't make any sense. It'll make sense once I explain it to you. And I'm also writing about triggers because somebody asked me yesterday, thank you for asking me this. Somebody asked me yesterday, there goes my nose running. Somebody asked me yesterday, how do I know when I'm being triggered? What does it feel like? And I thought that's a really valid point, because if you don't know that you're being triggered in the moment, you have a trauma response, right? So if you don't know you're being triggered, what it can look like is somebody says something to you, or somebody's tone changes, or somebody, withdraws their energy and it triggers you. But instead of realizing, oh, I'm being triggered right now, right? We don't know, if you don't know what it feels like, you don't know that it's a trigger. So you kind of think it's something going on with them. You say, why can't you ever tell me you're proud of me? Or why did your tone change? Did I do something wrong? And that's coming from a triggered place. So I'm also, because of that comment, I'm writing a thing about, I stayed up, I was doing this for, I don't know, I think I spent 6 hours last night. I was up instead of sleeping, writing. And it was just now I understand writer's block, because it was just flowing out of me. I said to Michelle, it felt like someone else had taken over my body and was writing this. I can barely articulate it right now, but that I wrote about it. So I started writing about, what is a trigger? What does it feel like? Because in the moment, if we don't know we're being triggered, we automatically assume it's something going on with the other person, or they're feeling some sort of way about us. And in the moment, it's our truth. In the moment, sometimes we can blame the other person, right? And in the moment, it's our truth. We feel like they're doing something wrong, when what's really happening is they're triggering something unhealed, or not even them. A wound within you is being triggered. And I'm going to give you examples so this makes more sense. Again, I know I'm not making much sense right now, but it'll make sense in a minute. Anyway, it kind of felt like the healing journey for me has kind of felt like a labyrinth. I know what the wound is now. How do I properly heal it? I'm aware of it. I know when it's happening, but how do I heal it? How do you truly heal your inner child? It's about more than just connecting with your inner child. It's about more than doing hobbies that you liked as a kid. And again, I had this breakthrough moment this morning by trying what I'm writing about. So I was writing about how to almost create a map, okay? Finding your way to the original point in these archetypes. And so I did it this morning, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. And it worked. It worked. Like, I experienced something very strange. I noticed a shift. Again, Phoenix energy, completion of an interrupted stress response. And that's how you heal the triggers, is that you recognize the triggers, you change how you're reacting when you're being triggered. It's almost like rewiring. Again, I know I should stop saying that. Stop putting yourself down. Why am I putting myself down? Why do I feel like I'm not making sense? I think about the archetypes. What archetype is that coming from? Where does that wound come from? Anyway, crazy pants over here. So I was, and last night, just being aware of these archetypes. And again, there's not that many. So it's not overwhelming to learn. But like, I was watching these documentaries last night. One of them was a true crime documentary. And while I was watching it, my mind was blown, because I was like, oh, that person is acting from this archetype. And then we continued watching that 19 Kids and Counting with the, I don't have to explain it all, but there's like a main pastor who guides this religion. It's very cult-like. And I was like, whoa, that is the mentor and the mystic in shadow, like the way the archetype cards we pulled yesterday. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. I know I'm not making any sense. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm being triggered right now. I'm being triggered right now because I'm starting to over-explain. Do you over-explain when you feel misunderstood? I can feel it happening. I'm starting to over-explain. I'm starting to worry I'm not making sense. That is listen, this is what I mean about a map. And like, once you see it, it's, especially if you have pattern recognition, it's just mind-blowing. So just hear me out. I'm starting to over-explain. I keep saying to myself, I'm not making any sense. You're not telling me I'm not making any sense, but I'm feeling like I'm not making any sense because one of these child archetypes is feeling the emotion. So the archetype that's feeling this emotion is the unseen child, right? I'm starting to over-explain myself. So, sorry, the emotion I'm feeling is like, I'm not making any sense. I'm misunderstood, which is the shadow of I mapped this. I wrote this down and like, I could map it. Anyway, so I'm feeling unseen and misunderstood right now. Like, I'm not making sense. That is the unseen child or the neglected child. I'll have to look. I'll have to look to be sure. That's activating the shadow of the performer child, where now I'm starting to over-explain. Do you see what I mean? And then in the moment, it's happening right now. This is so cool because it's happening on camera. So I'm feeling triggered. And instead of shutting down, instead of keep over-explaining, because I'm triggered right now, I'm seeing where they come from. And I'm using this trigger as an opportunity to give myself the validation and the care that I didn't get as a child. So in this moment, I'm speaking to myself right now. I do not need to over-explain myself to be misunderstood. I'm feeling unseen and misunderstood because of this wound. I am safe. I don't need to keep explaining myself. I don't know for a fact that you can't understand me. I'm not gonna, I could actually, you know what, I'll just do it. So, let me just look at this. I'm gonna pause it while I find it. I needed to take a minute because I was triggered, feeling like I wasn't making sense, started to over-explain. It took me a minute to, again, find the map to what was being triggered. This is the point of all of this. This is how you can use your triggers to stop, what was it? To interrupt the stress response. So, the part of me that's being triggered right now is not the neglected child. Hang on. I'm essentially, the thing I'm scrolling through is my book. It's just not a book yet. So just bear with me here. The abandoned child, please don't leave me. Okay, so that's the archetype, the shadow that's being triggered right now. And then it blends into another archetype. So, which was the over-explaining. I'm still triggered in this moment. Again, triggers aren't bad. Triggers are the moment that instead of repeating the trauma response, the stress response, we stop the trigger, we heal the trigger. I think it's so cool that this is happening on camera. So the abandoned child archetype is being triggered right now. The abandoned child archetype forms when connection feels unstable enough that the nervous system begins organizing around the fear of loss. When the innocent child protects hope, where the innocent child is another archetype. Where the innocent child protects hope, the abandoned child protects attachment itself. This archetype develops when closeness is experienced as something that can disappear without warning. Love may have existed, but it felt unpredictable, withdrawn, inconsistent, or emotionally safe to rely on. The child learns a powerful emotional truth: connection can vanish. Rather than withdrawing from the relationships, the nervous system adapts by increasing vigilance. Attention becomes focused on maintaining closeness, preventing distance, and detecting emotional shifts before separation occurs. The abandoned child survives through proximity. Where other parts ask, "Am I safe alone?" this part asks, "Are they pulling away?" Because it almost felt like you were, like, I know you weren't pulling away, but because I was feeling like I wasn't making sense, in a sense, I felt like you were pulling away. It's like the blind leading the blind over here. Anyway, So, the abandoned child survives through proximity. No, I already read that part. This is not neediness, it is an attachment attempting to secure safety. The abandoned child does not fear independence itself. It fears emotional disconnection because disconnection, I'm like, I can't even read right now. Disconnection once felt overwhelming or unbearable. And you know, some people would say, bleh. Some people would say, why are you still recording if you're feeling triggered? Because this is the part that I've been missing the entire time, is the time to heal the trigger is when you're being triggered. And again, just the fact that I'm trying to explain this and I'm being triggered in real time and I'm showing you how I'm building a map to the trigger, to interrupt the trigger, because the abandoned child or the neglected child archetype, I'm essentially info dumping all over you. The trauma response is to stop recording, to delete the recording, to withdraw. Wait until the trigger passes, try again. But it's in the moment. Like, again, you're witnessing it right in front of your eyeballs right now. The trigger is happening, and while I'm being triggered, while the problem is happening, I am trying to map it back to the archetype so that I can heal it. It's like when there's something wrong with your car, right? If your car is making a clunking noise and you're like, oh, it's making a clunking noise, that's scary, I'm just going to turn it off. The mechanic can't, I don't know why this analogy is coming through. The mechanic can't find the problem by the car being turned off, right? You turn the car off because you're afraid. What's going to happen? My car is clunking. The mechanic can't find what's wrong with the car if the car is just simply turned off. The mechanic, who's probably not afraid because they're a mechanic, needs to turn the car on and drive it to experience the clunking, to figure out where the clunking is coming from. Oh dear. All right. So, I'm not going to start over explaining how it forms. How it forms. This archetype often develops in environments marked by emotional inconsistency or relational rupture, like anybody who's a chaser or an avoidant, an avoidant. It stems from this abandoned child archetype. Caregivers may have been emotionally unavailable at unpredictable times, loving but inconsistent in attention or affection, physically present yet emotionally withdrawing, overwhelmed, depressed, preoccupied, alternating between closeness and distance, unintentionally creating insecurity through unpredictability. The child experiences repeated moments where emotional connection disappears without explanation or repair. The nervous system learns closeness must be protected. Instead of moving away from attachment, the child moves towards it more intensely. Emotional awareness sharpens. Small changes in tone, mood, or energy become highly noticeable. The child adapts by becoming relationally attuned, monitoring emotional shifts, seeking reassurance quickly, attempting to restore harmony, fearing silence or distance. And again, I'm writing about how does this affect your relationships, right? How does it show up in love? How does it show up in friendships? When it is in shadow, chases reassurance during emotional activation, interprets neutral behavior as rejection, struggles with emotional regulation during distance, remain in misaligned relationships to avoid loss, abandon personal needs to preserve connection. There is an underlying belief, if they leave, I will not be okay. again, my point is that feeling of feeling unseen, right? Or like I'm not making sense, or that I'm not saying the right things. It started out from the abandoned child archetype. And then it shifted into the performer archetype, where I started over explaining, which is where, again, I need to like print this out for myself. The performer child, like right now, I'm being triggered. I'm feeling fear of rejection. I'm feeling like I'm not making any sense, like I should just stop recording this video. Like it's the blind leading the blind. I'm starting to feel negatively about myself. Triggered. Do I know that I'm not making sense to you? No. Do I know if I look stupid or not? Not in reality. Like, not really. I don't know what you're thinking. But these wounds are being triggered, and now I'm having a trauma response. So it leads to the performer child. I learned to be who I needed to be in order to be loved. The performer child forms when love, attention, or safety feel connected to achievement, helpfulness, emotional caretaking, or being impressive enough to earn approval. This archetype does not develop because a child wants recognition. It develops because recognition becomes the most reliable pathway to connect. And I talk about this in my own experience, where I felt like I needed to perform or do things to earn love and connection from my parents. So I started like cleaning and making them breakfast in bed and making them coffee and trying to impress them, perform to earn the connection. At some point, the nervous system learns a powerful equation. When I am good, successful, useful, and pleasing, I am safer. Identity begins organizing around performance rather than presence. The child becomes attentive to expectations, quickly learning which behaviors receive warmth, praise, or relief from tension. This is not manipulation, it is adaptation. The performer child does not pretend in order to deceive, it performs in order to belong. How it forms, there's more things here, but I'm just going to keep going. How it forms. Caregivers may have praised success more than emotional expression, relied on the child's helpfulness or maturity, shown pride primarily when the child excelled, struggled to respond consistently to vulnerability, unintentionally reinforced achievement as an identity. The child learns that approval feels predictable while unconditional emotional presence feels uncertain. Developmentally, children naturally seek belonging through attachment, anxious attachment. When emotional attunement is inconsistent, performance becomes a stabilizing strategy. The nervous system begins to associating worth with contribution. So when it's in shadow, feels exhausted yet unable to stop striving, struggles to rest without guilt, overextends yourself emotionally, loses awareness of personal needs, feels unseen despite constant effort, experiences resentment alongside devotion. So what I'm trying to say is that when you understand these archetypes, like while I was reading this, while I was writing about it, I can see areas in my life, moments in my life where I'm acting from a trauma response and self-sacrificing and not stopping the trauma response pattern. You know that meme that I sometimes share? It's of a guy, he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. I might just add it right here in the video. He's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he's got like papers behind him with I don't even know what it's from. And it's got the lines to everything, and he's like trying to explain what it is. That's what I feel like right now. It probably sounds like I'm speaking another language. Even saying that, what archetype shadow is that? So the way this started for me this morning, now that I understand what these archetypes are, I was downstairs trying to explain it to my partner. I was so excited. I'm like the thought of me writing a book, right? Unbelievable to me. And when I was telling him about it, he's always supportive, right? He said something. I can't even remember what he said because I was triggered, but he said something supportive. But because of a past wound I have of feeling unseen, in the moment I felt like, you're not proud of me. Like that's what was going on in my head. That's what I was projecting outward. I was like, he's not proud of me. And I said that to him. I'm like, or no, I didn't say that to him. But in my head, I immediately was like, my ego was triggered. And I'm like, he's not proud of me. He doesn't support me. I wish he would have been more supportive and said he was proud of me. That's what and then I was like, again, I'm like super excited about this because it's almost like a key. So in the moment, I understood, or I asked myself, why do I feel like he's not proud of me? He said something supportive, and then he started talking about lentils, and that's where I got triggered, right? It was like the conversation went to me being really excited to him talking about lentils. Again, not his fault. Doesn't make him a bad person. He wasn't being toxic or anything, but I was immediately triggered. And instead of saying to him, like, you're not proud of me, or maybe, like, I really wish you would be more supportive. Maybe I did say that part. But I stopped and I said, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling like he's not proud of me. What is that reflecting back to me? And I was like, wait a minute. This is coming from me. This is coming from a lack of belief in me, doubting my worth. And I said out loud, and I think he thought I was being mean. I said out loud, I stopped, and because I recognized one of these archetypes was seeking reassurance, right? One of these shadows activated in me. And I stopped and I said, I don't need you to be proud of me. I'm proud of me. And I gave myself what my inner child was asking for. My inner child was saying, I want someone to be proud of me. That performer a little bit, the neglected child, the abandoned child, the performer. So I said, I don't need you to be proud of me. I'm proud of me. And I gave myself what I needed in that moment, what I was missing in that moment because of a wound. Does that make sense? And then, so completion of an interrupted stress response. Because I understand these archetypes, I was able to identify the emotion, identify which I went to this, what am I feeling? I was able to identify the archetypes that were being triggered, and I was able to in that moment shut up. I'm talking to my triggered part. Like my triggered part is like, don't post this. I don't give a fuck. I don't care who watches this. This is like, anyway. So I figured out what the archetype was, what my inner child, my wounded child was seeking in that moment, what it was projecting, what it was seeking, and in that moment I gave it to myself. And it was like, oh my gosh. And then I explained it to him because I didn't want him to feel bad. I said, that's not about you. This is me giving myself what I need in this moment instead of feeling triggered by you not being proud of me, how am I supposed to know if he's proud of me or not, right? So then, again, moments later, he was pouring cereal and his tone shifted and I felt triggered. Just being aware of these archetypes, you start to see that you start to understand. So he was pouring cereal and his tone changed. And immediately I felt triggered. And I was like, what am I feeling? I started feeling like, did I say something wrong? Did I annoy him by working through my trigger out loud? Is he judging me? And I was like, what archetype is this coming from? Which was the abandoned, listen, where does the tone, someone's tone shifting, where does that trigger come from? The abandoned child. Then the unseen child. Then the unseen child felt the emotion, the shadow of the unseen archetype. Then the performer child archetype was triggered again, where I started first, I felt the trigger, I identified it, and I said, your shift in tone has absolutely nothing to do with me or what I did. I didn't do anything. Being hyper aware of change in a person's tone comes from the abandoned child archetype. So in that moment, I was able to identify the emotion I was feeling. And I said to myself, the shift in his tone has absolutely nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean he doesn't love me. It doesn't mean that he hates me or he's judging me. It comes from a time where the energy in my house as a child was very unpredictable. It was very inconsistent. I learned how to read energy. You know, if my dad was having a bad day, I learned to shrink myself, to not further I didn't want to trigger him. So then I started trying to explain this to my partner. And then I got to the point where I was getting triggered because I was over explaining and I didn't feel understood, even though he wasn't saying, you don't make any sense. Because of one of these shadows, I was feeling like I wasn't making any sense. So I started to over explain myself, similar to what I'm doing right now or what happened just now. So I said to him, I need to stop over explaining myself. If you don't understand, that's okay. But by continuing to over explain, I'm continuing the pattern. I'm continuing the stress response. It's okay. I don't need to explain myself perfectly in this moment. I am going to take some time to calm down and stop over explaining myself. And then again, something shifted in me because I stopped the stress response. And again, it's almost like when I talk about synchronicities, where synchronicities are around you your entire life. You don't know what they are. You don't know what to look for. You don't understand them. And then the moment you start learning about synchronicities, how they show up, the patterns of the synchronicities, you start seeing them everywhere. And that's what's happening to me right now. By learning about these archetypes, by taking the moment where I'm feeling triggered or feeling an emotion and creating a map, right, back to the shadow that I'm experiencing, I'm now seeing them everywhere. Came up to my room, was feeling this pressure. I gotta get personal readings done. I gotta get them done. I have so many, I gotta get them done. I started feeling torn between whether or not I should spend my entire day doing personal readings and not resting and not doing self-care, not spending time with my family, or if I should prioritize self-care. Does it really matter if I do some today or if I revisit them tomorrow? It's a day's difference. I realized one of these archetypes, one of these wounds is being triggered. And in that moment, instead of giving into the trigger and overworking and neglecting myself, abandoning myself, I was able to tell myself, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't make a huge difference if you send a personal reading today or you send it tomorrow. It's okay to prioritize rest. It's okay to take a break. It's okay not to abandon yourself. And I don't know how long that all took. And your trigger's probably not the same. But I think it was an hour where I went through these experiences where I was feeling these triggers. And you know what? Sometimes they don't feel like triggers, right? It's not all the time that you feel like a rapid heartbeat and anxiety and like crying. It can be as subtle as abandoning yourself to overperform or feeling guilt for prioritizing yourself. I just want you to try it because, again, it's in the trigger that you can stop it. And again, it's 2:22 on February 22nd. Are you kidding me? Magic! It's through leaning into the trigger in the moment. My mind's blown right now. Just again, this is you seeing it in action right now. And then it happened during this. And I was able to map back to what it was, where it comes from. What am I asking? What do I need right now? In that moment, I needed to tell myself, it is okay to rest. It is okay to go spend time with your family. This is a very bizarre video because, again, I just wanted to come on and talk about this and then show you how to use tarot to figure out what shadow is being activated. So you can do it. I'm going to do an example right now with tarot. But if you have tarot and you're feeling an energetic shift within you, you can use tarot as a way to figure out which one of these archetypes is being triggered and where does it stem from and what can I give myself in this moment. What can I give myself in this moment that I need, right? And so often we look to others to give us that validation. Tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me I'm not too much. Tell me you still love me. Tell me you understand me. That's the inner child needing you to give that to them, not get it from somebody else. And again, these, in my love readings, I'm starting to see these archetypes. And it sounds like a different language right now, kind of like wounds did when we first started learning about those shadow wounds. And again, the shadow wounds, worth being aware of, understanding where they come from. But for me, it's allowing me to follow a path and actually heal it. I'm very excited about it. When I was reading The Performer, when it is in shadow, this is what made me think of when I was feeling guilty. It's Sunday, right? It's the weekend. It's okay to spend time with my kids. It's okay to prioritize rest. But when I was thinking about spending all day doing personal readings from a stress response, it was that performer. Feels exhausted yet unable to stop striving, struggles to rest without guilt, overextends yourself emotionally, loses awareness of personal needs. Do me a favor and blink twice if you understand. But if you don't know about these archetypes, it's probably hard to make the connection. But once you know about the archetypes, there's the connection. Anyway, I don't know if I even want to talk about the trigger thing right now, because I just kind of explained what I was feeling. Like, it can be very subtle. Assuming that you know what someone else is thinking, right? Like when somebody doesn't message you back, specifically in love. If somebody doesn't message you back soon enough, we automatically assume it's them, it's their fault, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, there could be some inconsistency on their part. But why is it triggering you? What emotion are you feeling? Because panic, because they haven't responded fast enough? Are you feeling forgotten about? Are you feeling unseen? Are you feeling abandoned? And then when you're feeling that thing, instead of reaching out and being like, you don't message me enough, or why are you ignoring me, or overperforming by continuing to send messages, you can understand in that moment, I'm being triggered by a wound. How do you heal it? You sit with the trigger and you interrupt that trauma response. Instead of chasing, instead of reaching out, instead of over texting, you say to yourself, through these archetypes, I'm feeling neglected. I'm feeling forgotten. But I'm not forgotten. They probably just got busy. Maybe this is an opportunity in this moment to make myself feel seen, to do something nice for myself. I don't need to chase attention. I can give it to myself. And through time, healing those, it also leads to, not choosing inconsistent connections or friendships. Anyway, so again, I know it's a little... I see the perfect time is here. Affirmation, it's the perfect time to go into a tarot example. And now I'm like super aware of when these shadows are being activated without like the explosive trigger. I can feel, I'm more aware of when they're activated. And what to do when they're being activated. It's just like, again, you're seeing it happen. Whatever. Shut up, ego. Get out of here. All right. So what I'm going to do is another thing I'm writing about. Not that everybody uses tarot, but tarot can be a very good tool for understanding your energy, understanding what is happening energetically, what's happening unconsciously. So you can use, like, I'm writing about how to use tarot, not typical reading tarot, but how to use tarot to identify these archetypes and what's being triggered, how to understand when it's being activated, what to do when it's being activated. It makes more sense what I've written down. Like I said, I'm having a difficult time articulating it. And ultimately healing that trigger, so that when it does happen in the future, you're like, oh, I'm feeling activated. I know it's just that. I'm safe. Doesn't mean the trigger or the activation will never happen. But again, just applying this morning in my kitchen over something as simple as what happened, I'm now very aware of when a shadow is being activated in a really subtle way, not in an explosive way, because explosive triggers are very hard, or not very hard. When you know what a trigger is and you feel an explosive trigger, it's pretty obvious that that's a trigger. But when these archetypes, these shadows, are being any type of triggered, even very subtly, I'm becoming aware of it now. Which saves, like my partner said, we saved an argument. Like we didn't have to have an argument because I didn't continue over explaining. I didn't continue acting from the shadowy place. I interrupted the stress response. Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. And again, it would make way more sense to you if you knew what these archetypes were. But once you know, it's like, whoa, I don't know. So anyway, I've written how to use tarot to identify these. So I'm going to show you right now. We'll see what comes out. But I've separated the major arcana. So you can do it when you're not feeling triggered, or if you're feeling emotionally heightened, or you're feeling rejected, or you're feeling like running away or anxiously attaching, you could pull a card and what is being activated right now. And again, I've written what every major arcana card means, what archetype it connects to, so that you can build that map. Do you hear my children? It's interesting because when I started learning about the healthy, hang on. So by healing these archetypes, I'm still going to continue what I was saying. By healing these archetypes, you then, by integrating these lessons, by interrupting the trigger, the trauma response, by understanding them, working to heal them, then there are integration archetypes. The integrated child, the wise child, where am I going here? The whole self. You start becoming these integrated archetypes, the healthier ones. But when I was learning about these integrated archetypes, even when I was learning about the child archetypes, I was seeing how my children embody a lot of the light attributes. Which made me feel like what I've been doing has been working when it comes to how I raise them. It's funny because I always have this, I've been struggling with this niggling, it's my ego, right? Anxiety scares you. Your ego scares you, and it's like repetitive. So recently I've been getting this like reoccurring fear ego message that I'm neglecting my children. And it stems from the fact that I felt neglected as a child. And I'm always worrying about this, right? I'm always worrying, am I giving my kids enough time and attention? Part of the thing is that they're all turning into teenagers and they really like doing their own thing. So even when I want to hang out with them, sometimes they don't want to hang out with me, which is fine. But I've been ruminating on this. Am I neglecting my children? And I was explaining this to my partner this morning. When I start feeling that way, I just realized this last night. When that message of fear comes up, am I neglecting them? Am I doing enough? You could use this as an example with a relationship. Or you could use this in a relationship sense as well, like a love relationship. Like, am I not doing enough? Am I not giving enough? So I was feeling like, am I neglecting them, right? Questioning my own parenting. This fear that I have that comes from the neglected child in me, the archetype neglected child. Instead of, and this has been going on for quite a while with me, this trauma response, apparently stress response. I was feeling it, feeling triggered about it, and I said, I'm not neglecting them. I said, the neglected child. I went to the neglected child archetype. What does the neglected child archetype talk about? It talks about inconsistent affection, being physically around but not emotionally around, withdrawing. I already read it. I could go back, but it's so far back in it's just one long manuscript right now. Bark, bark, bark. I looked. What causes a child to feel neglected? It's all of these things. Is that what I'm doing? No. I spend time with them every day. I help them set healthy boundaries. When they're upset, I give them a safe space to express that they're upset. If something I'm doing is bothering them, they're safe to tell me that it's bothering them without me reacting. I don't have emotional mood swings. I'm not inconsistently there for them. I don't go back and forth between hot and cold energy. So how could I be neglecting them? And I stopped worrying about if I was neglecting them or not. Because when I was feeling triggered, anyway, let's get you a card. So, I already lost my spot. Thank you if you're still watching this. Again, feeling triggered. I'm definitely feeling triggered right now. Maybe fear of being seen. So just an example, okay? Major Arcana cards. So I'm going to ask Spirit to let us know, as a collective in our soul tribe, I'm just going to ground myself first so that I'm not picking up on my energy. All right. So I'm going to ask Spirit for one Major Arcana card to tell us what archetype may be activated, or what archetype might we as a collective need to look at. I have a feeling, though, because we're aligned, the ones I already mentioned probably will come out, right? But let's just have a look. Spirit, what archetype shall we explore right now? All right, we have the Star. Perfect, healing. I already know this one is going to be connected to the innocent child, I think. Again, I've written about this. Hang on. The Star, innocent child being activated, or shadow. So, core emotional energy, renewal, hope. Archetypes reflected: innocent child, abandoned child, divine child. When in shadow, hope feels fragile. When in healing, gentle trust returns, healing invitation. Healing happens quietly, healing support. So we're going to go now to the innocent child archetype. So this is what I mean when you're feeling triggered. It's the first one actually that I've written about. A book would be easier, wouldn't it? Do you read on tablets? I don't know how, I know there's lots of people that do that, like the Kindle, is that what it's called? I don't know. I like me a good real book, that I can bend. My partner laughs at me because I do this with books, and he's like, how can you do that? I want something that I can touch. All right, so the innocent child. And this one definitely explains this one can definitely explain how some of us lose ourselves. So, the innocent child. We're just going to do this one. Even though it mentioned two others, I'm just going to do this one right now. So, the innocent child is the part of you that believes in goodness, possibility, and emotional redemption. It holds the original expectation that love is safe, connection is meaningful, and being truly seen will make everything make sense. This archetype does not begin as a fantasy, it begins as trust. In early life, the nervous system is wired for attachment. You believe what you are shown. When love feels warm and consistent, hope becomes grounded. When love becomes inconsistent, the innocent child does not immediately abandon hope, it protects it. Rather than concluding that love is unreliable, this part searches for meaning inside inconsistency. And you can already hear how this archetype is often triggered in relationships, especially soul contracts. Rather than concluding that the love is unreliable, this part searches for meanings inside inconsistency. It believes connection can still be repaired, understood, or healed. The innocent child survives through belief. Where the other part asks, is this safe? This part asks, what could this become? Right? Potential. This is not naivety. It is devotion to possibility, potential. The innocent child does not ignore reality intentionally. It simply prioritizes potential over evidence because hope once felt safer than grief. How it forms. Your parents, caregivers, loving but emotionally unpredictable, warm at times, distant at others, supportive yet unavailable during key emotional moments, affectionate but unable to provide stability, unintentionally inconsistent due to stress, trauma, or overwhelm. So the child learns an important emotional equation. Love exists, but it must be understood or earned to remain. Instead of withdrawing, the nervous system leans towards hope. The child studies emotional shifts, change in tone, searching for patterns that restore closeness. Often this archetype deepens between ages 8 and 12, where awareness increases and reality becomes more complex. The child begins noticing that adults are imperfect. Promises are sometimes broken. Affection can disappear without explanation. Rather than abandoning belief, the innocent child doubles down on meaning. Intensity must mean destiny. Longing must mean depth. Patience must prove love. Hope becomes a strategy for emotional survival. The innocent learns to keep the heart open, even when closing it would feel safer. And you can see, I'm someone who believes in soul contracts, right? I believe in the counterpart journey, in the fact that it's meant to trigger all these, or soul contracts that are meant to trigger these wounds. But that's where the unhealthy attachment comes in. And that's why I try and talk about that in my love readings. I am in no way, like, this can form this attachment to people. I've done this with friends. It's not something I do anymore, but I've done this with friends. Anyway, how it shows up in love. You may notice in adult relationships, the innocent child recognizes potential quickly. You may notice yourself sensing who someone could become rather than who they truly are, feeling deep empathy for another person's wounds, imagining future harmony despite present inconsistency, staying longer because connection feels meaningful, interpreting emotional intensity as proof of significance, believing patience will eventually create stability. You may find yourself saying, they just need time. They have so much potential. I know who they really are underneath this. Closeness can feel extraordinary, especially when paired with emotional distance. The nervous system may interpret unpredictability as depth rather than instability. You may spiritualize difficult dynamics, framing red flags as lessons or growth experiences. Now, see, this is interesting for me because I believe in spirituality. I believe in soul contracts. I believe in lessons. I believe in growth. But it's when spiritual bypassing happens that it becomes unhealthy, where people say, well, they're my soulmate, so I'm just going to wait. Or they're my twin flame, right? So I'm just going to keep chasing. And they don't take the lesson that's meant to be learned and integrate it and learn from it and heal it. So it's not even about spiritualizing. I'm going to change that. It's not about spiritualizing difficult dynamics, because oftentimes in soul contracts, in counterpart connections, soulmates, there are difficult dynamics, but it becomes a problem when we spiritually bypass it, where we just say, well, I'm just going to keep chasing that person. They're my twin flame, right? Or it's okay that they're mistreating me. They're my twin flame or soulmate. That's spiritual bypassing. There's a difference. And that is why I talk so much about what is this dynamic telling you to heal? It looks like waiting for change without evidence, right? We talk about this, waiting. It can look like confusing loyalty with love. It can look like feeling guilty for wanting consistency. The innocent child keeps the heart open, even when clarity asks for boundaries. That's why I talk about boundaries so much, because we can't spiritually bypass it. When it is in shadow, hope becomes denial. You override intuition because the dream feels safer than disappointment. You cling to reassuring words even when behaviors contradict them. The shadow innocent child may reinterpret inconsistency as emotional complexity, excuse behavior that causes harm, waits for change, stays in the dynamic without observable effort, minimizes personal needs to preserve connection, fears that leaving means giving up on love itself. So there is often a deeper fear underneath. If this is not real love, maybe nothing will be. Grief feels more threatening than staying, so the system protects hope at all costs. The wound here is not foolishness. It is the fear that seeing clearly will require mourning both the relationship and the story built around it. When in light, the innocent child becomes one of your greatest strengths. Hope remains, but it becomes grounded in discernment. You believe in love without abandoning self-protection. You can feel chemistry while observing patterns. Compassion and boundaries begin to coexist. In this state, hope becomes anchored in reality. Intuition and empathy work together. Patience includes self-respect. Emotional openness exists alongside discernment. Love is measured through consistency, not longing. You understand that love is not proven by intensity, it is proven by reliability. You allow yourself to be chosen through actions, not promises. You trust discomfort as information rather than something to override. You do not lose your softness, you mature it. So, how to heal in the moment. Begin by naming what is happening. A hopeful part of me is like, let's say this, okay? Let's say, just again, this is tricky because I am very spiritual. I believe in soul contracts. I believe in counterpart connections. But it's why I heavily emphasize that if you're unhappy every day, you're not in alignment with it. You're acting from a shadowy place. If you can't put up boundaries, if you start to lose yourself, it's why I talk so much about the healing, because again, twin flame connections, counterpart connections, it's about coming into wholeness within yourself, which is what all of this can do, like the healing the childhood wounds, stopping the triggers. You become whole within yourself, which is the whole point. So, how to heal in the moment. So let's say you remain in a relationship where affection exists but follow through does not. You focus on their potential instead of the pattern. So if you're holding on because of someone's potential, even though there's inconsistency, when it's activated, a strong desire to believe the best, defending the connection, explaining away concerning behavior, replaying positive memories for reassurance, urges to reach out to restore emotional closeness, chasing. So when it's being activated, right? So if somebody's being in love, if somebody's being inconsistent with you, or there's like an obvious red flag where you're being mistreated, instead of explaining it away, instead of chasing them in the moment, not putting up boundaries, it's about interrupting that stress response that I've been talking about. So when you're feeling activated, begin by naming what's happening. A hopeful part of me is active right now. Place your hand on your chest and stomach. Slow your exhale. Allow your body to settle before interpreting the situation. Then gently ask, what is the evidence in front of me? Not the potential, not the promise, the pattern. Notice behavior over time, consistency, effort, reciprocity, follow through. The goal is not to silence hope, right? This is not meant to dash your dreams and say that you're delusional and that soul contracts don't exist and twin flames are BS. This is about healing the shadow of you in this archetype, right? The innocent, that is causing you to stay in an unhealthy situation. Why do you stay? So the goal is not to silence hope, it is to anchor it. Hope becomes safer when it stands beside reality. So, you practice believing in love while also requiring reciprocity. You learn consistency is romance, reliability is intimacy, follow through is affection and action. Over time, your nervous system learns that clarity does not destroy love, it refines it. You begin tolerating disappointment without escaping into fantasy. Sadness becomes survivable. Hope matures. There goes my solar plexus. I just had to restart what I was saying. This card specifically makes me think of feminines, wounded feminines, not talking about gender, who instead of going within and healing, they continue to overgive. They continue to put up with less than they deserve. They continue to chase. This says long-term healing. Your heart remains open, but it is now guided. And that's what I talk about, being open for what is for your highest good. The Seven of Cups. There's a few cards here that talk about what cards will come out in tarot when you're exploring your shadows. The Seven of Cups is one of them. And it's not that you're delusional. It's that the shadow of the innocent child is being activated. The moon can come out. The star in reverse may indicate hope placed where there is no grounding. So there's no stability. So again, when I see this as kind of the wounded feminine who stays accepting less than they deserve, or they stay in unhealthy situations afraid to put up boundaries. When you've healed it, the cards, different energies emerge. Queen of Swords, boundaries, knowing your worth, standing in your power, higher standards, soul connection or not, right? Empowered divine feminine. Justice, the Sun, Ace of Pentacles, right? And those are cards. It all makes sense in my brain. I know. It probably sounds very confusing for you. But what I'm trying to create here, which I'm not articulating in this message, is what the archetypes are. And how to recognize triggers, both big triggers, subtle triggers, and how to trace back or make a map back to what shadow is being activated and how to heal it in the moment, to give your inner child what your inner child is wanting, your wounded inner child, so that you can empower yourself. And again, I have it laid out so nicely here and easy to follow and like ADHD friendly. But me trying to use my iPad to navigate all this was confusing. Anyway. Maybe we could get one more. Let's go with minor arcana this time. Let's just see. Minor arcana. We'll just do one more. We have the Three of Cups. Oh, good. When I was scrolling through that, explaining how confusing it is to articulate it, what did I land on? The cups. Magic. So, archetypes often reflected: playful child, invisible child, divine child. When in shadow, fear of exclusion or comparison may surface. When in light, joy is shared safely with others. I like that. So, let's do the invisible child. Three of Cups. Invisible child. I need chapters. This is just one long manuscript right now that I'm sure there's a way to skip to it. Performer child. Invisible child. I learned not to take up space. So that could be an archetype that's in shadow for you. The invisible child forms when a child learns that being fully seen feels unsafe, unnecessary, or disruptive to connection. Unlike the neglected child whose emotions were not mirrored, the invisible child adapts by actively reducing visibility. The child senses, consciously or unconsciously, that attention creates tension, conflict, or discomfort with the environment. Didn't I read this a little bit? I think I touched on this when I was triggered. That was interesting. And listen, again, when you understand it, I just felt embarrassed. Why am I feeling embarrassed? What archetype shadow is being triggered? The shame, wounded child archetype is being triggered. Do you hear my kids down there? Oh my gosh, they're swearing a little. They're having fun. So in this moment when I'm feeling embarrassed, when I'm feeling this it's very subtle. This trigger is very subtle. I'm going to give myself what my inner child, my wounded inner child is asking for. You don't have to feel embarrassed. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to show vulnerability. It's okay if people judge you for it. You don't have to be perfect. You have no reason to feel embarrassed. It's funny, the way that I'm talking to myself right now is the exact way I talk to my kids when there goes my solar plexus again. Are you eating? What are you eating? That's how I talk to my kids now that I think about it all the time. You don't need to be embarrassed when they tell me what emotion they're feeling. Interesting. So, how it forms. The archetype often develops in environments where emotional or relational space feels limited. Caregivers or environments may have been dominated by strong personalities or conflict. Check. Focused on another sibling's needs or crisis. Check. Emotionally volatile or unpredictable. Check, check. Intolerant of emotional expression. You're not allowed to cry. Overwhelmed, leaving little room for individuality. Subtly discouraging attention towards the child. Wow. Again, I wrote this. It's kind of like when I do readings. I forget what I've written because I was channeling it. Again, it felt like it didn't come from me. So the child senses that visibility creates disruption, staying very small. Like my kid's laughing right now. There's no way I could have been like that as a kid. There's no way. Not safe. Rather than competing for attention, the nervous system adapts by withdrawing from it. The internal learning becomes, my needs complicate things. I should not draw attention. It's easier if I stay quiet. Developmentally, children form identity through being reflected and witnessed. When visibility feels unsafe or unwelcome, identity development becomes internalized and private. The child becomes highly perceptive, noticing others' emotions quickly, adapting behavior to maintain peace, minimizing personal impact. The invisible child forms not from rejection alone, but from learning that presence must be carefully managed. Empaths, where are you, empaths? I see you. The empath, the invisible child, is what I'm hearing. How it shows up in love. Or even relationships. This doesn't have to just be about love. This could be friendships, right? Hesitating to share opinions or needs, adapting quickly to others' preferences, feeling uncomfortable being the center of attention. Oh my gosh, explains so much. Waiting for permission to express feelings, downplaying achievements or struggles, feeling unseen even when loved. Also connects to the neglected child. Six of Wands in reverse. The invisible, neglected child archetypes. See? I'm starting to make the connections. You may think, it's not important, they matter more, I don't want to make this about me. You may become deeply attuned to partners while remaining partially hidden yourself. Conflict may trigger withdrawal rather than expression. Emotional needs may remain unspoken until distance quietly forms. Partners may perceive calmness, flexibility, or ease, while internally you feel unnoticed and disconnected. The invisible child protects connection through self-erasure. Erasure. You're erasing it. When it is in shadow, invisibility becomes disconnection from identity. You may struggle to know what you truly want because preferences have long been shaped around others. The shadow of the invisible child may say, avoid expressing needs entirely, feels overlooked in relationships repeatedly, struggles with decision making, minimizes accomplishments, tolerates emotional imbalance silently, feeling lonely while surrounded by others. There may be an underlying belief, my presence is optional. You may wait to be invited into spaces rather than stepping forward naturally. The wound is not lack of worth, it is learning that visibility felt unsafe. Examples of how this might look. You defer decisions to others even when you have preferences. Someone asks you what you need and you genuinely struggle to answer because you were unused to prioritizing yourself. Or you share something meaningful and quickly redirect attention back to the other person. You may feel deeply connected to others' inner worlds while remaining unseen in your own. The invisible child learned belonging through quiet adaptation. Healing invites presence without an apology. When this part is activated, triggered, okay? Difficulty speaking up, hesitation before sharing thoughts, withdrawing during emotional conversations, minimizing feelings automatically, feeling smaller or less important. And this is where you're supposed to stop and not do anything except identify it and give yourself what your inner child is asking for in that moment. Reassurance. Begin with an acknowledgement. A part of me learned that being visible was unsafe. Bring awareness to your posture and breathing. Sit or stand slightly more upright. Allow your body to occupy physical space intentionally. Practice one small act of visibility. Share one honest opinion. State a preference. Allow yourself to finish speaking without softening the message. Remain present when attention turns to you. Visibility does not require performance, it requires permission. You are learning to allow yourself to exist fully in shared space. One thing that I want to add to these sections is what to tell yourself in the moment, because that's what I was doing, right? Because this got triggered when I was feeling embarrassed, or like, who's going to even watch this, or what will people be thinking? It was being activated. So I stopped and I told myself, you don't have to be embarrassed. You don't have to worry about what other people are thinking. It's okay to be seen. It's okay to be seen in an imperfect way. It's okay to struggle with how your words are coming out. Get your message out. Your voice is worth being heard. Your opinions matter. Anyway, it's made me hyper aware of when I'm being activated, even in like very subtle ways, which is kind of magical in my opinion. It's 3:14. The Empress, Temperance, healing divine feminine energy, healing the star, the innocent child, 14, Temperance. I wonder what card Temperance is connected to. I mean, I know it's connected, or what archetype. I know that it's connected to a few different ones. Temperance. Let me see. The divine child, healed innocent child. So temperance is when your energy comes out like in a tarot reading as temperance. That archetype, the innocent child, is in its light, not being activated by shadow. That's nice. An integrated self. So divine feminine and temperance represent integrated archetypes, which are healed archetypes, right? And how excited do I get when in my love readings the Empress comes out for the viewer? Anyway, just a little peek into my messed up world right now. Using humor when I'm feeling embarrassed. Hang on. So interesting. So the humor, it was almost like a tiny little put down to myself, right? I said, welcome to my messed up world, or whatever I said. Part of it was coming from the shadow of the innocent child. But it then activated a light attribute of the performer child, which is very interesting to me. Anyway, blink twice if it made any type of sense. Again, the reason that I'm doing this is because it started off as a guide for me. How to trace it, how to deal with it, what to do. And now it's become a manuscript. I promise the manuscript makes more sense than my words are making. I promise. Keep in mind, I can't believe how many times I was like subtly, like those shadows were being activated within this video. It was just in seeing them, witnessing them, stopping them. Anyway, I love you guys. Eventually, I think that I'm actually going to take... Eventually, I think I'm going to dedicate a place for all of this healing talk that's not directly on my tarot channel. Although I'll still talk, again, still doing tarot, still doing love readings, but I think I want to dedicate a space for healing, specifically. Especially for those who, want to heal, but are trying to detach from love, right? Or the love readings. Anyway, I'm just brainstorming out loud. I'm going to go. I feel like I've been here a really long time. I do remember saying 2:22 on February 22nd. And now it's 3:22. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm really hopeful for this. I'm going to continue experimenting with this method. I think I'm also going to develop... I'm just talking out loud. I can go brainstorm about this in my journal. It's something I should add here. I'm just going to go brainstorm about it with my higher self, because my higher self is in charge of this rodeo or whatever it is. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for... Even if nobody watched this, it was a way for me to... It fascinates me what happened in this video where I was being triggered. And now I have some things to add to my manuscript. So I love you guys. And seriously, maybe just try it out. Maybe just try it out. The next time you're feeling something, maybe just try it out. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.